Tonight, baseball fans from coast to coast are celebrating a thrilling end to an extraordinary season as the Toronto Blue Jays win the division championship for the first time in a decade.
Guerrero to Lauer, and they've done it.
What's next for Canada's team as they gear up for October baseball? Feeling the pinch of another Canada Post strike.
One big giant nightmare keep on going with Canada Post.
Why it could be so devastating for some businesses. And a shocking attack on a Michigan church as a shooter opens fire before the building goes up in flames.
I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
What we know about the attack and the gunman.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hennemanson.
There is joy among Jays fans tonight and dreams of what may be next after the team won its first division title since 2015.
Ground ball fair. Guerrero to Lauer, and they've done it.
The Blue Jays' thrilling win before an electrified crowd at Rogers Centre, just the latest chapter in a season that has defied expectations. The Jays were able to fend off the surging New York Yankees in a close race for the top of the American League East. Now fans are hoping for much more. Philip Lee Shannock now with the dramatic win and the big celebration for fans and their team.
Guerrero to Lauer, and they've done it.
And with that, the Jays clinched the divisional championship with a convincing 13-4 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays. It was a shaky start, but fans never faltered.
When it got to be 5-4, it was kind of like, oh, not sure how this is going to end.
But fans say this year's team is known for late inning wins.
They've been an amazing team. They've come back, like had so many comebacks all season that I knew that when they had to win, I knew they were going to pull through and they were going to do it.
And some have already bought tickets for the American League Division Series.
Yeah, I got tickets already. I got them last week when they came out. After the first inning, I was a little bit scared, but I had faith in them, and this group of guys, George Springer, Kirk, everyone, Kevin Gossman, they delivered. Amazing.
In the end, today's win meant it didn't need help from their season-long rivals, the New York Yankees, to win the division pennant. The Jays would have needed them to lose, but the team got it done.
We've put ourselves in a spot to where you can just look right out here at this field and know that if you play your game, you're going to get to where you want to get to. So I think that makes it a little bit easier, and you kind of just focus on the task at hand.
And focus they did. For the first time in a decade, the Jays clinched the AL East pennant and a pass to skip the wild card round, finally giving fans a breather. Fitting as it came down to the final game of the season to try and clinch the AL East, since the team is known for its late inning dramatic wins.
It has made for an exciting brand of baseball. Certainly putting a few gray hairs, in the beard and in the hair for a lot of people that are watching this team.
2015 was the last time the Jays won the AL East, setting the stage for Jose Bautista's October bat flip, and hopes that this run will last longer. With the best record in the American League, the Jays will have home field advantage in the next series, earning them a well-needed few days off before they have to take the field again and hopefully time to get back to full strength.
So, Philip, how are fans feeling about the American League Division Series?
Well, if you ask any of the fans here, and they'll tell you the Jays are going all the way to the World Series, and the team is hoping to capitalize on the momentum the last few days. The Jays have the best at-home record of any team in the American League, and they're hoping those fans come out for their first game of the American League Division this Saturday at the Rogers Centre.
Philip Lee Shannock in Toronto. Turning to other news now, the union representing Canada Post workers is digging in, determined to stay on strike until Ottawa's proposed changes to the service are withdrawn. And JP Tasker shows us among those caught in the middle, small businesses.
The second strike at Canada Post in less than a year is already taking a toll.
One big giant nightmare keep on going with Canada Post.
James Lorne sells model trains by mail, and he says the strike is derailing his business, costing him tens of thousands in lost sales.
At least this time it's not Christmas and Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but now we have a service interruption with no potential restore date.
The strike comes after the federal government demanded an overhaul to cut costs. directing Canada Post to end door-to-door service, allow for slower delivery, and close some rural post offices.
This is thousands of jobs on the line, and it devastates the service.
The union that represents postal workers is digging in, vowing to stay on strike until Ottawa backs down.
It's just a death by a thousand cuts. They will crush Canada Post, and it's management and the government doing it.
At its peak, Canada Post delivered some 5.5 billion letters a year. That number has dwindled to less than 2 billion. Once dominant in parcel delivery, it now moves fewer than 1 in 4. The Crown Corporation is effectively bankrupt, losing $10 million a day.
Canadians as taxpayers are paying more and more for a system they're using less and less.
Canada Post says it needs to downsize if it has any hope of staying in business.
Are we going to be a leaner organization going forward? Absolutely, top to bottom, management included.
The Prime Minister says there's no going back, and even more cuts could be coming.
The corporation should move forward with some changes that are the start of a path towards viability. More will need to be done.
The centuries-old service is at a crossroads. The longer workers are on strike, the more customers Canada Post could lose. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S. is again wrestling with the tragedy of a mass shooting tonight after police say a gunman rammed his vehicle into a Mormon church in Michigan, shot worshipers, and set fire to the building. At least 5 people are dead. That includes the shooter. As Katie Simpson explains, it all happened in the space of 8 minutes.
Flames spread quickly through this rural Michigan church. A fire so intense, it prevented first responders from getting to everyone who needed help inside.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building. We got children inside too.
Hundreds of people were attending Sunday service when police say a pickup truck rammed into the front doors of the church.
We heard a large, just a loud bang. At first figured somebody accidentally had done something. So we started rushing out to go help, and then as soon as I saw the American flags on the truck and that it was on purpose, and somebody yelled that it was on purpose.
The suspect exited the truck, according to police, and started shooting worshipers with an assault rifle. And at some point after, started a fire that ripped through the building.
The suspect used an accelerant of some sort, we believe gasoline, and lit the church on fire.
At this time, that the FBI is now leading the investigation and is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
Police arrived within a minute of the first 911 calls, shooting and killing the suspect within 8 minutes.
That suspect is a 40-year-old male from the city of Burton, who we identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford.
Thomas Sanford served 4 years in the U.S. Marines and was deployed to Iraq. Officers cordoned off the street near his home while the bomb squad cleared the scene near the church.
This kind of violence doesn't happen in our community.
On social media, President Donald Trump wrote, "This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians. This epidemic of violence in our country must end immediately." The familiar pain of gun violence in America starts a new cycle of shock and grieving in yet another community.
It's insane to me. I can't actually believe that this would happen in my city.
Police are praising the actions of worshipers in the first moments of this horrific attack, saying there were children in the church. And as the gunshots began, the adults shielded the kids and rushed them to safety.
And Katie, police aren't saying anything really about a possible motive.
Other than saying this was a targeted act of violence, we still don't know much else. But this is just the latest in a string of deadly targeted acts of violence, including at places of worship in this incredibly volatile moment in America.
Katie Simpson in Washington. And staying in the U.S., Donald Trump says his plan to end the Gaza war is in its final stages. This comes as he's set to host Israel's prime minister tomorrow at the White House. Trump says his 21-point plan got a very good response from Israeli and Arab leaders. It reportedly includes the release of all hostages and a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces. More than 66,000 Palestinians have died in the nearly 2-year conflict, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. And Trump is expanding his controversial military deployments to U.S. cities, this time vowing to send troops to Portland, Oregon. in response to protests at immigration detention centers. Trump says the move will protect ICE facilities under siege, calling the city, quote, war-ravaged. Portland's mayor, though, says the president will not find lawlessness or violence in the city unless Trump creates it. Here at home, a major shift in the search for a missing 6-year-old boy in Alberta. Darius McDougall disappeared in a forest area near the BC border a week ago. And as Stephanie Cram explains, police now say his chances of survival are slim.
After a week of searching in rugged terrain, the hunt for Darius McDougall continues. But RCMP say chances of finding the 6-year-old boy alive are slipping away.
The point we are at with regards to the search, the survivability is less than 5%. So unfortunately, that conversation was had with the family today.
Despite this, RCMP remained committed to bringing the Alberta boy home.
Just because we're saying survivability is limited right now does not mean we're stopping looking for Darius. We will still continue. We will continue until we find him.
McDougall was last seen September 21st walking with family near the Island Lake campsite in the Crow's Nest Pass area of Alberta, near the BC border. 200 personnel are combing the area for him. One expert says they should remain hopeful.
If you've been in search and rescue long enough, you've seen or run the search where you thought there was no chance of finding the subject alive, and you find them alive.
He says the fact that Darius has autism could further complicate the situation.
In some cases, they're non-responsive, so if you shout their name, they can't call back. In other cases, you shout their name and they don't want to call back because they may be afraid.
Officials say they've tailored the search to accommodate the boy's needs.
In most searches, we would be using sound as an attractant method for a subject to draw them in, recognizing that in this particular situation, that would actually have the opposite effect and potentially push Darius away from us.
Searchers are also using Darius's favorite song to attempt to lure him out of the bush. As the search heads into its 8th day, RCMP say they have no plans to scale back, but did say they have stopped using helicopter infrared cameras. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Edmonton.
A 911 call to police is revealing new details tonight on the moments before the fatal police shooting of a Quebec teen. 15-year-old Nuran Rezai was killed 1 week ago. Rafi Boudjikanian explains what police were told and what protesters want to see changed after his death.
For the second day in a row, supporters of Nuran Rezai cried out for justice.
So it's always the police investigating police, no condemnation whatsoever.
Rezai was shot dead by a police officer last Sunday after police received a call reporting masked armed individuals moving through a public space. And there are now new details about how that unfolded. Radio-Canada obtained a log from a 911 call. The caller described a group of 15 to 20 people, some of them holding baseball bats and pepper spray, and what looked like a gun handle sticking out of a backpack. Police arrived on the scene at 2:57 p.m. Rezai was shot a minute later. Quebec's police watchdog confirmed the only firearm found at the scene was the one the officer fired.
The police officer is that he was reaching for his bag, right? We don't know if that's true or not. That's what the police says.
Another key request of the protesters, all police in Quebec should wear body cameras. Technology already used elsewhere in this country, but there's been no broad adoption in Quebec.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I came was the body cam issue, because I personally do believe the police should have body cams.
This former RCMP staff sergeant says police forces here do not believe the money they would have to pay for the technology would get them a sufficient return on investment.
I think it's cost and also, again, not seeing the necessity of the cameras to increase public confidence in the police.
That trust this weekend was low. Police deployed in riot gear on both days. We're trying to protect our youth, yelled this organizer from Saturday's event after pleading with the crowd to keep calm. It did, a small comfort for Rezai's family as they wait for answers. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Longueuil, Quebec.
Airports across the country have been facing major delays tonight. The Canada Border Services Agency reporting an outage affecting those machines you use when you enter the country. Passengers posting photos and complaints on social media in Calgary, Montreal, and Toronto. The cause of this outage isn't clear, but the agency says it is working to fix the problem. And some changes are coming soon at WestJet. The airline is modifying the layout in some of its planes, removing what some consider a comfort, others an irritant, the ability to recline your seat. Carolyn Bargut now with how that news is being received by travelers.
You pay extra to check your bags and pick your seat. But soon, on many WestJet flights, the ability to lean back won't come standard either.
Everything's about the dollar and everything is costly.
The airline says in an effort to offer affordable airfare, it's revamping 43 of its planes, introducing a new seat configuration. Many seats will no longer be able to recline, and there will be different amounts of space for different passengers. Those at the very back will get the least amount. In the middle, there's a little more, and for those in the front part, more yet. But to get more legroom and a reclining seat, travelers will have to choose WestJet's newly created extended comfort seating, or go premium. At Vancouver's International Airport, passengers are split on the plan. This exchange student traveled from France to Vancouver and likes the idea of not having someone reclining into her personal space.
On the first plane, it was a huge man in front of me who was lying on me.
Well, I think any time you can improve your comfort on any airplane, it's really well worthwhile.
But others disagree.
I don't really think it's fair. The amount of money we pay for air flights right now, too, as well, is just kind of atrocious.
One passenger rights advocate says making tall passengers pay extra to get a seat that they will fit into amounts to discrimination.
Comfort is a choice. Accommodating your physical size is part of transporting a passenger. So the problem that I'm seeing here is that WestJet may not be providing necessary space for an average passenger.
He fears passengers who don't know their rights may just go along with it.
WestJet says anyone who requires additional considerations should call them when they book to make sure they're accommodated before arriving at the airport. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Vancouver.
There are renewed efforts to protect the message behind Orange Shirt Day.
Every Child Matters was created to honor survivors and their families and to remember those that never made it home.
With more businesses cashing in on the movement, is the meaning getting lost? In India, a rally for an actor turned politician ends in tragedy. As the death toll climbs, blame now turns on the rising leader. And understanding artificial intelligence.
My advice is embrace it. Even if you're afraid of it, there is a saying, keep your enemies close.
My conversation with the Vancouver-based co-founder of Grammarly. We're back in 2. Rescuers combed through a building in Kyiv during a massive 12-hour Russian aerial attack. Ukraine's military says air defenses shot down most of the nearly 600 drones and dozens of missiles, but residential areas were hit.
A lot of buildings was destroyed. One of them behind me, and in this moment we can talk about 4 people died. And from 4 people, it's 12-old girl.
Kyiv was the main target, but other cities, including Sumy and Zaporizhia, also took fire, adding to the tally of destroyed homes and dozens of injuries from shrapnel and shattered glass. In southern India, there's grief and anger tonight after a political rally turned deadly. At least 40 people were killed in a crowd surge yesterday. CBC South Asia correspondent Salima Shivji takes us through what happened and the growing outrage.
The pain of losing a loved one so abruptly overpowering for these families in India's southern Tamil Nadu state. So many inconsolable. It was a massive political rally that took their relatives, a campaign stop ahead of state elections next year. For Vijay, the wildly popular Tamil actor turned politician, known only by his first name, His star power brought thousands to the site, more than double the expected number. Within minutes of the rally starting, panic. The crowd surged towards Vijay's bus. Several people fainted from waiting in the heat. Others fell as the crush of the crowd overwhelmed them. Ambulances could barely make it through to save the injured. Among the dead, at least 9 children. The grief hitting many families hard, the deadliest political rally Tamil Nadu has seen in a country where fatal crowd surges are relatively common. My daughter and her fiancé sent a selfie. They told me they'd be home soon, this woman cries, but now they're both gone. Vijay, in a post on social media, says his heart is shattered by this tragedy. He's offered compensation to the victims' families, as has the state government, even if the actor says the loss cannot possibly be compensated. But there's also blame directed at the former movie star. Letting the rally take place here was the worst decision, this woman says. There was nowhere to go to get out.
The case has been registered. Okay, we'll give you the details later. Okay, right? Yeah.
Police have filed a case against key members of Vijay's new political party that could lead to criminal charges. But the investigation into how this could have happened is just beginning. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
There's a new effort to protect Orange Shirt Day and what it stands for.
It's maddening to see that happening.
The steps organizers are taking to stop companies from exploiting the movement. Is artificial intelligence hindering expression? The Canadian co-founder of Grammarly doesn't think so.
Communication and personal voice and tone are very personal things. It's part of our identity. So we try to preserve it as much as possible.
The National takes you deeper into the stories shaping your world. Next. Tuesday is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, also known as Orange Shirt Day, a time to honor children who are forced to attend residential schools. But as the orange shirts themselves gain in popularity, more designers and businesses are creating their own. And as Juanita Taylor explains, that's prompting the official Orange Shirt Society to act.
They're online, in stores, and in schools. The Orange Shirt.
Orange Shirt Day, Every Child Matters, was created to honor survivors and their families and to remember those that never made it home.
Phyllis Webstad is the residential school survivor whose orange shirt was taken from her as a 6-year-old child, a gift from her grandmother for her first day of residential school at St. Joseph Mission in Williams Lake, BC. It's her story that is the origin of Orange Shirt Day.
My story was chosen to be the story to bring about change in Canada.
Now, thousands of Canadians wear orange shirts to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
It hit social media and just blew up to become the Orange Shirt movement.
That movement has sparked interest by designers and companies to create their own shirts.
I once did a 10-minute search on the internet, and I found 10 countries selling Orange Shirt Day, Every Child Matters shirts.
But some companies have been selling shirts that don't meet criteria set out by the Orange Shirt Society.
It's maddening to see that happening.
Webstad says shirts must be orange and include the message, Every Child Matters. And the society is now taking steps to stop appropriation.
The Orange Shirt Society applied for the trademark Every Child Matters in May of 2020. And we were successful.
Look at the intricate style of illustration.
Orange shirt sales at this store are going steady. Owner Janet Pacey collaborated with an Indigenous artist to create this year's shirt. But Pacey says she does it for the artist and the community, not for the sales.
It bothers me. There's people making money off of this. It's about honoring a group of people that deserves to be honored.
Webstad says stopping the appropriation will take time.
Guaranteed next year we will be out there and talking more about this.
Events will be held on Tuesday across the country to mark National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. No doubt in a sea of orange. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Yellowknife.
And CBC News will bring you special coverage of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation commemoration in Ottawa called Remembering the Children. Join Adrian live on Parliament Hill starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday on CBC Television, GEM, or wherever else you find CBC News. Now let's break down the news shaping our world. Canada's temporary foreign worker program is under scrutiny.
It is not a solution to Canada's productivity problem.
We'll explore how it works and why there are calls to fix it. But first.
First, use Grammarly's AI to sound confident.
A pioneer in AI-driven writing aids, Grammarly has evolved well beyond basic grammar fixes.
We always put user in control.
I sat down with co-founder Max Lytvyn in Vancouver to talk about his company's growth, the fears over AI, and Russia's invasion of his homeland, Ukraine. Max, real pleasure meeting you.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
There's so much to talk to you about, a Ukrainian-Canadian tech executive, and both you personally, but I think your company as well, has been very active in terms of supporting Ukraine since the invasion by Russia. Tell me about that.
Yeah, first I want to say that I'm safe. My life is not in danger, and what I'm experiencing is in no way comparable to what Ukrainians are experiencing who are in Ukraine now. But it did touch me quite strongly and quite personally. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah. Maybe just to give you context of why it is such a difficult subject for many Ukrainians, besides what the horrors of what's happening now, just a bit story from my childhood. When I was back in Soviet Union in like my early preschool daycare, it was a Russian-speaking daycare. And I was speaking Ukrainian in my house, in my home, and with my parents, grandparents, but there I was speaking Russian. And after going away for summer, I would come back and I would use Ukrainian words or sentences and speaking with my peers there. And at one point, my teacher sent me to a doctor to cure of me a speech impediment, which was my native language. And that's one of my earliest memories of my childhood, being sent to the doctor to get cured of my native language.
Yeah. I think back to President Zelensky and the very cold reception he got from President Trump. And I can't imagine how you would have felt watching that. And I just wonder, you've got that moment, you've got what President Trump has said about Canada, which has, obviously angered a lot of people here. Do you have any misgivings about having a company with a head office in the United States, in San Francisco? Does that create any difficulties for you?
In some ways it does. In some ways it does. For example, I'm being more careful about what I post online. I don't talk publicly about some of the ways I support Ukraine because that may be viewed as too drastic, too radical. One of the reasons we opened office in the United States was stability and rule of law, and I feel like that's eroded quite a bit.
Yeah. You live in Vancouver.
Yes.
You could have chosen anywhere in the world to make your home. Why here?
Well, quality of life. I'll be honest about it. I just really like it here. And initially, I came to Canada and brought my family to Canada because of opportunities, starting business, very clear legal framework to start a business, very clear legal framework to immigrate. So that was very attractive to me. Very welcome in society where I don't feel like I'm not welcome. I don't feel like I'm,
a foreigner.
Yeah, I don't feel like a foreigner, exactly. Almost from day one, I didn't feel like a foreigner. That was amazing. So that's why I came to Canada initially. And Vancouver specifically, oh my God, it's an amazing place. It is like a giant playground. It has all the benefits of that human civilization can provide, but at the same time, nature is everywhere. It's not too crowded. It's great.
Lytvyn, as well as another of Grammarly's co-founders, live in Vancouver. Since they started the company in Ukraine in 2009, the writing assistance app has grown in popularity. The company says it has 40 million daily users and expanded its services, powered by artificial intelligence. So once upon a time, Grammarly, I think, was known as a tool that could check spelling and improve grammar and syntax. Now I think it can polish the style of the writing, for example. And so in principle, that troubles me a little bit, because I think to myself that writing is an expression of who we are. And so if I write a letter to a prospective employer or a complaint to a company or a love letter, I want that to reflect who I am, not your artificial intelligence. Should I be worried about that?
I would say no. And I'll explain
Surprisingly.
why. Yeah, I will elaborate why. First, yes, I realize that we realize as a company that communication and personal voice and tone are very personal things. It's part of our identity. So we try to preserve it as much as possible. And we start with providing our feedback in a way that it's a feedback, it's a recommendation, it's not a judgment, it's not a directive. And we try to present it from the audience standpoint, how your audience would perceive it, would they understand it, what questions they would have, what emotions they would feel, and so on. And that is much easier to explain to people why they need to change sometimes their voice, because sometimes you need to change it. Sometimes that's not what you intended. And that may involve changing your tone in some ways, but not in all the ways. And we always put user in control. You're free to accept or not accept any suggestions, or you're free to tweak it to tell Grammarly that I don't want to be formal, I want to be informal here, or I don't want to polish the rough edges, I want to leave the rough edges in. That's completely, and Grammarly will fine-tune its feedback to take that into account.
I don't want to be alarmist, and sometimes when it comes to tech things, people tend to exaggerate, but then I think about Geoffrey Hinton, the Nobel Prize laureate, and when he accepted the Nobel Prize, he made some pretty dire comments about the potential dangers of AI.
In the near future, AI may be used to create terrible new viruses and horrendous lethal weapons that decide by themselves who to kill or maim. All of these short-term risks require urgent and forceful attention from governments and international organizations. There is also a longer-term existential threat that will arise when we create digital beings that are more intelligent than ourselves. We have no idea whether we can stay in control, but we now have evidence that if they are created by companies motivated by short-term profits, our safety will not be the top priority. We urgently need research on how to prevent these new beings from wanting to take control. They are no longer science fiction. Thank you.
That's really strong language, and it's also coming from somebody who won the Nobel Prize for his work with AI. What do you think of his warnings?
I think to a large degree it's true. And there I would focus on the word short term, and we want to make that term as short as possible. We want to act quickly, we want to act decisively, we want to pay attention to this. It is possible to have it all. It is possible to have AI that's powerful and safe. I firmly believe that, but it requires urgent and thoughtful work.
Does government need to get more involved here? Do we need stricter regulations? Can we trust tech companies to do that for us?
Not fully. I don't think we can fully trust companies. Corporations are selfish by law, and they will have to do whatever they need to do to benefit their shareholders. And there is social responsibility, but it needs to be enforced. It needs to be, at least that's my belief, that society needs to provide some guidance, at least guidance, if not rules, to corporations.
Let me finish with this. Some people watching this are afraid of AI. Some people are eager to embrace it. I'm sure you're somewhere in the middle. You're probably not afraid of it. But what's your advice to them?
My advice is embrace it. Even if you're afraid of it, there is a saying, keep your enemies close. Do that, yes. And I've heard a saying that, and I think it's very true, that you're not going to be replaced by AI, you're going to be replaced by people who know how to use AI. That's what you should keep in mind, yeah.
Speaking of social responsibility, Grammarly makes no secret of its corporate support of Ukraine as that country resists the Russian invasion. But Lytvyn does say the company's initial donations were misused, including contributing to helping Russians kidnap Ukrainian children. But now Grammarly gives money to charities that focus directly on helping Ukrainians. Well, calls to scrap or refocus Canada's temporary foreign workers program are mounting, but some businesses say it's a lifeline.
I cannot hire people that do not exist.
We'll explore the problems and the possible solutions next. A foreign workers program designed to fill Canada's labor gaps is facing headwinds and calls for change. But businesses say consumers could pay a price.
If we don't have access to a workforce, we're going to see closures and job loss and higher menu prices.
Paula Duhatchik breaks down how the program works, what can be done to fix it, and what reform might look like.
Politicians who can't agree on much are all talking about the temporary foreign worker program.
It should be canceled or significantly reformed.
The temporary foreign worker program needs to be repealed and replaced.
But there's still lots of disagreement about what exactly needs to change.
Permanently scrap the temporary foreign worker program.
And the temporary foreign worker program must have a focused approach.
So let's talk about it. What is the temporary foreign worker program and what should be done about it? The temporary foreign worker program is supposed to help businesses bring in workers when no local workers are available. There are different streams aimed at different kinds of workers. The program grew quite a bit in the last few years, though new limits took effect last fall. Companies must show they tried to hire Canadians and couldn't before they can hire a TFW, but federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says TFWs are squeezing out some local workers.
They're shutting our own youth out of jobs and replacing them with low-wage temporary foreign workers.
Economists aren't so sure. Youth unemployment has been high, but they say the TFW program isn't necessarily to blame.
The temporary foreign worker program is not nearly large enough to be driving those increases.
Still, for years, experts have raised concerns about the program. Some say that in the long run, businesses that use it are less likely to raise wages. Others say because the program ties workers to their bosses, it makes them vulnerable to mistreatment. So if the temporary foreign worker program is broken, what should be done about it? Let's say we do get rid of the program. Some economists think that's a good idea.
I think we could phase it out quite quickly.
They say if the program didn't exist, a business that couldn't find workers would have to offer better pay, or it could invest in new technology so it wouldn't need as many people. But some say the TFW program prevents that from happening.
What firms can do instead is to say, well, I'll stick with this wage that did not lead to a successful employee search, and I'll just bring someone from a low-wage country somewhere in the world. And so not only does it potentially hold the wage fixed, it could lead to less investment in new technology.
This economist says we should wean businesses off the program, at least from the low-wage stream. Businesses already have to pay a fee to the government to hire a TFW. He suggests charging higher fees, especially to businesses that rely on the program year after year.
Pushing, away from a reliance on cheap foreign labor is certainly moving in the right direction. It is not a solution to Canada's productivity problem, but it's part of the solution.
Many business owners say sometimes there just aren't any local people to hire, especially in rural and remote areas.
The reality in our rural Atlantic Canada locations is that we have a severe shortage of a labor pool. We've continually increased our wages, and our starting wage hasn't made any difference. I cannot hire people that do not exist.
At the end of the day, if we don't have access to a workforce, we're going to see closures and job loss and higher menu prices.
Other experts say the big problem with the temporary foreign worker program is the way it's designed. Temporary foreign workers generally have closed work permits, which means they aren't allowed to change jobs.
Your employer holds all the cards in terms of your destiny in this country.
She helps newcomers, including TFWs, and says many of them hope to stay in Canada, creating a power imbalance that makes workers vulnerable.
One of the things we'll see is workers' contracts say they'll be paid $20 an hour, and then their employer demands that they pay them back maybe half of that money in cash.
One solution, give TFWs open permits.
I think that's just a fundamental. They become not quite as vulnerable and dependent upon a specific employer. They do then therefore have labor mobility, which is a really, really key labor right.
But businesses aren't so sure about that idea either.
In the case of 35 workers from Mexico, it's basically about $33,000 to fly them in one way.
He says if workers had open permits and did change jobs, he'd be left with a big bill and nothing to show for it. Another suggestion is to raise the standards for who can use the program. Right now, businesses that want to hire a TFW have to prove they tried to hire locals and couldn't. But this expert thinks it's still too easy.
I feel like employers are given too much latitude in how they use this program.
He thinks the government should be more hands-on and aggressive, demanding businesses prove it's absolutely necessary to hire TFWs.
Make them have to do a better job of justifying their use of the program and give the government a more active role in determining whose application is the strongest.
As for business groups, they say they're open to change, but hope the program remains in some form.
We have to really sit down and have conversations around what are the economic needs for the communities across the country.
Clearly, the temporary foreign worker program stirs up strong opinions about work, human rights, and the future of the economy. The Prime Minister has said the program does need reforms. He'll certainly have his work cut out for him if he wants a solution that works for everybody.
A recent Angus Reid poll suggests more than half of Canadians hold a negative view of the country's temporary foreign workers program, many saying it's impacting the labour and housing markets. Still ahead, a Canadian artist brings his music home for a concert in the park.
Whenever there's like a spontaneous plan like this, I feel like the adrenaline is pushed like 10 times harder.
From Instagram to the stage, how Daniel Caesar brought hundreds of fans together in our moment. You're looking at Canadian singer-songwriter Daniel Caesar at Toronto's Trinity Bellwoods Park, just minutes after he hit the stage to play a surprise free concert. And tonight, his performance that left the packed park stunned makes our moment.
Toronto, Trinity Bellwoods, 5 o'clock.
People were sitting on the slope. Some people were even climbing the trees. Overall, like 1,000 people. There were so many people, and if I could probably define it in one word, it would have to be magical.
Say what's up, guys. Say what's up.
Whenever there's like a spontaneous plan like this, I feel like the adrenaline is pushed like 10 times harder. Around 6, Daniel Caesar came with Mustafa the Poet. Obviously everyone's cheering, everyone's hooting. It's like so exciting. When he started playing, there was pin drop silence.
I know I should stay away, but I can't.
It was a communal feeling. Everybody else in the park as well was experiencing the exact same thing at the exact same moment.
On the other side of TV is open.
His performance was obviously so beautiful and it was so serene. It made me think about how, like, to our core, like, feverishly, we're kind of like the same people.
So he said the last time he played at Trinity Bellwoods, it was 10 years ago, 40 people were watching. Imagine to be lucky enough to be in that group. If you haven't seen him perform before, by the way, go see him. He is electric, and he's going on a tour, and he's promising more pop-up concerts as he makes his way across the country. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anytime, anywhere on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hannah-Mansing in Vancouver. I hope you can join me tomorrow and every weeknight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on CBC News Network. Good night.